If you have a membership or subscription business, I'm going to show you a workflow that you can set up within your Monday.com boards. We're going to track key information as well as show you how to set up dashboards so you have important information and important KPIs to help run your business. So let's jump in.
Hi, my name is Tara, and I'm a certified Monday.com partner and the founder of Simple Day. My goal is to help you build powerful yet simple workflows with Monday.com. If you need help with a custom implementation, my contact details are in the description below. Let's jump into today's tutorial and make Monday the best part of your week.
In this tutorial, I'm going to walk you through my process of building boards and dashboards. The reason that I'm doing it this way is because we actually need to build these boards for ourselves internally. Here at Simple Day, we recently launched a Monday Club, which is a membership club that people can join when they need more help implementing Monday. We offer live coaching calls, hands-on workshops, a community where you can ask your questions, and most importantly, support. I found that people just need support for Monday.com, and that's what we're here to help you with. If you're interested in getting more details, just leave a comment below and someone on our team will reach out to you. So as I'm thinking about our membership club and what I want to track in Monday, I thought this would be a nice idea to actually do it live and build the boards on the call so you can understand my thought process and what I want to achieve. Before we get started on actually building the boards, I did need to put some thought ahead of time into what information I want, because you can't just start building boards without knowing what information you want. So I'm quickly going to list the things that I want to see, and then I'm going to show you how I implement them within the boards. Now, let's start with the regular Monday.com board that I'm going to be building. And the purpose is to track the people that are part of the membership. So things that I want to track are name, email, the date that they joined the membership, the date that they ended their membership subscription, how many months they've been part of the membership, the source, like where did they come from? How did I get them? Like which ads campaigns did they come from? Their time zone, maybe a type, like if I want to know if they're like a beginner level, medium, or advanced. So like I may ask questions about that, or kind of like what type of content they're interested in. And the last thing that I probably want to know is if they're an active subscription versus not active. I'm going to need that information later on for my dashboard. So that's kind of like the basic information that I'm going to want to track. The next thing that I need to think about is KPIs, because I'm building these boards in order to glean data to know how this part of our business is doing. How many members do we have? How long do they stay? What's the average revenue? Things like that. So the KPIs that are important that I'm going to want to pull in for dashboards is how many active members do we have? How many non-active members do we have? How many new members are we getting per month, per quarter, per year? And how many members are we losing per month, per quarter, per year? I also want to understand the source of everyone, like how many members am I getting per source? And I also want to understand the revenue. Like how much revenue on average do we get per member? What's our total revenue for this entire project? And it could be that we would want to divide revenue up by month, year, and quarter. So those are all the things that I want to take into account when I'm building out my dashboards. The other thing that I just want to touch on is the tech stack and what we're going to actually be using to do this. I'm not going to build all the integrations now, but I just want to explain how we've set this up. Now, we use a plugin called WishList Member, which is a WordPress plugin. So it sits on our WordPress site. And we have an integration using Make, which is a third-party tool. And I'll put a link below for information on how to access that tool. So we're basically going to be connecting the information from our website to Monday.com using Make. The other thing that we use is Stripe. Now, Stripe is a credit payment processor, and we're also going to be sending information to Monday because every time someone pays, I want to know that someone has paid and it's going to send that revenue to Monday. So I'm doing a direct integration between Stripe and Monday. It's actually not direct because I'm going to use Make in the middle. The last thing that we use is we also use MailChimp because we use MailChimp for a whole bunch of email sequences. So there is an integration between the WordPress site and MailChimp. And I may also want to have an integration between MailChimp and Monday. So this is kind of the basic tools that we're using to get this done. And now that we've reviewed exactly what we want to track in our board, what KPIs are important for us, and the overall process, let's jump into actually building out these boards. I'm going to start with a folder. So I'm just going to create a folder and I'm going to call this membership boards. Now I like to change the color to be pink. I just think it's easier to find. Like if you see over here, as I scroll up, it's just easier to find the different boards. So I'm going to change the color. Now I'm going to start with my first board. So I'm going to click on board, new board, and I'm going to call this my membership. And here I can decide what I want the first column to be. So I'm actually just going to change it to name. And I'm going to hit create board. Okay, so this is the basic board as it comes. What I'm going to start with is changing the different groups. So here I'm going to have active members because I want to be able to easily see active versus non-active, or people that have left. I'll just call them inactive actually. Inactive. And I'm going to change this to red and I'm going to change this to green. I like the colors. It helps me easily see where everyone is. Now I'm going to start with all the columns. So I'm actually going to just delete all this column because we don't have a person. Okay. And then let's get started on what we need. So first we need a name, and then I want to be able to have their email. So we have like the technical information, the contact information and whatnot. So here we have email. The next thing that I want is to have a start date because I want to know when they started. So here we can have a start date. And we also want to know when they ended. So I'm going to add an end date. Okay, we have a start date, end date. Now I'm going to use this for, actually don't need a status column for here. I'm going to move this to the end and we'll get to this later. The next thing that I'm going to want is a numbers column because I want to know the price, like how much did they pay? So I'll just call this revenue. I don't think that I need a status column for now. So I'm going to delete this, and I don't need a files column. So I'm going to delete that. The next thing that I want to track is time zone because I think that, the world clock, because I think that we're going to have a lot of people all over the world. I mean, we already do. We have some in Australia, some Pacific Coast, some East Coast. So I want to be able to know their location because it'll just help in planning. I think I'm also going to ask some questions to them about what their level of Monday is. So I want to be able to pull that information, level of Monday, because I can easily see like how many beginners do we have, versus intermediate. So I'm going to change this to beginner, intermediate, and advanced. I'm going to delete this label and I'm just going to change the colors. The reason that I'm changing the colors is for me, the green, blue, red is always significant of like working on it, not started and done. So visually, it's very easy for me to see when something's different. The next column that I'm going to add is another status column for source, because I want to know where my people came from. So here I'm going to just do, let's say YouTube. And then obviously I'm going to change the color. I'm going to make it red or pink, close enough. YouTube, I'm not sure where we're going to actually be advertising this. So for right now, I'll just add a few. LinkedIn, Facebook. Maybe our newsletter. Okay, I think that's enough for now. We can obviously always add the different sources as we need. Now, I'm actually going to also add a item ID. And what this does is this is going to give a unique item ID for each person. So you can see it automatically populates. I have a feeling that we're going to need this when we do the integrations to match people when they paid and things like that. So I'm going to add this here. What I want to do on this board is calculate the duration of how long someone's been a member. So I either want to calculate from the start date, which is today, until their end date, or I want to calculate how many days from they started until today. And I want that in months. Now I'm actually just going to add the formula column here. And I'm going to, first, let's just rename this to duration. Okay. Now I'm going to click on settings and I'm going to customize the formula column. Now I actually set this up before because this was one thing I did not feel comfortable doing on the fly. I can add the formula for you within the comments, but I just want to point out there also is a formula builder. So if you want to use that to help you get the formula, you can use that. So I'm going to add my formula and I'm going to change this to be months, right? Because I want to know how many months. And I'm actually going to change this to an average because I want to know on average how many people, like on average, how many months are people doing. So I'm just going to make this change. Let's say this person is January, and then I'm just going to push them to April. So you can see that they're here for 3 months, and average people stay in the membership for 1.3 months. So I think I have all the columns that I need for now on my board. I may go back and want to make tweaks, but for right now, as a starting point, I think we're in a great place. I am just going to add the $ as the revenue. So we have that. Now let's think a little bit about automations. So the first thing that I want to automate is when obviously an item is added to this board that it sets the start date to today because I want to know when people started. So like there's no reason to manually do that when I can automate it. So I'm going to open up the automation and I'm going to click on when item is created. And I'm going to set the date. So I'm going to hit start date to today. Now, the next thing that I want to think about is what happens when someone leaves the membership. So remember, I want them to be inactive, which would be in the inactive date. And I would also want them to go to that inactive group. So I'm going to enter the inactive date manually, like the end date manually. So the automation that I'm going to do is when column changes. So I'm going to say when my end date column changes, and just in case, I'm going to say that if it's not empty, right? So my column end date is not empty. Then I'm going to move my item to group. So I'm going to move them to inactive. I could do this with statuses also, and it could be something to explore down the road when you do a integration with Stripe that I could do like when someone says canceled to send the information back. But for right now, I am not going to be doing that. Let me just take a look at my board to see if there's any other automations that I want. Right now, I don't have anything. Right now, I don't have any automations that I think I want, but this is a work in progress, like most Monday boards, so I can constantly add to it. Now, I'm also going to create a dashboard. I can create a dashboard here, which is pulling this data. Sometimes I find it easier to have a separate dashboard, so that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to click on the plus button, dashboard, and I'm going to just call it membership dashboard. I'm going to create my dashboard and I'm only going to pull from this board. Now I'm going to add my first widget. So the first thing that I want to track is the active number of members. So I'm just going to add a numbers column and I'm just going to do active members. And it's going to be a summary, right? Because we want everyone. And then I'm going to go to the settings. Now, remember that I have my groups active and inactive. So this is relatively simple because I just need people that are in the active group. And I'm going to choose instead of a column, because I'm not picking from the revenue column, I'm going to pick from the count column. So here, and I can add a label. So I'm going to say here I have 3 members. Okay. So now I have my total number of members. Now, what I want to add is a chart for the number of new members per month. So I'm going to add that chart, hit on settings, and let's just scroll down here. My x-axis is not level of Monday, but it's going to be start date. Okay, and it's by month already. You can see that. And my x-axis is just set to count items because I just want to count. So that means in January, 1 person started, and in September, 4 people started. So here we have new members by month. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to just duplicate this and change the settings because I also want to see new members by quarter. So here where it says group by month, I'm just going to change to quarter. And just to point out that you can also do year, day, however you want, but I'm just going to do by quarter. And I'm just going to change this to by quarter. Now, just to make my chart look a little bit nicer, I'm going to do this, and let's just add this. And let's see if we can stick this up here. So here we have new members by month and new members by quarter. And now I'm going to duplicate this because I want to see the amount of people that left per quarter. Okay, so I'm just going to call this lost members by month. And I'm going to go in and edit this because my date column is not my start date, but it's actually the end date. So the end date by month, and it's again our count. Sorry, over here, it's our count items because we just want to count items. So we can see that I had 1 that left in April and 1 that left in October. Now I'm going to duplicate this because I want to see the same thing by quarter. And I'm just going to go here and change this to be by quarter. Awesome. Okay. The next thing that I want to chart is revenue by month. So I'm actually just going to duplicate this because it's just easier. And I'm just going to change this to say revenue by month. And now we just need to change the settings because remember now we're counting items and we want to track revenue. So I'm going to go to the x-axis. Instead of count items, I'm going to say revenue. Now, I just want to make sure as I'm thinking about this, and this is part of the planning process, this is not actually going to be telling me revenue by month because what I want to do in the integration is every time someone adds, like they pay for another month, so it's going to constantly be upgrading the revenue. So I actually think that I'm going to go back and redo my boards based on this, and I'll show you what I'm going to do. This is part of the process. Instead of having a revenue column, I'm actually going to delete this column and I'm going to add sub items. And what I'm going to do here, let's just say I'm going to start with September because that's going to be the month. And I'm going to add a revenue column here. I'm going to need a date and I need a numbers column. So what's going to happen is I'm going to create an integration that every time someone pays, it creates a sub item. So it's going to say September or the date, pull in the date, and then it's going to add the revenue. Okay, so I'm going to have, this way I'm going to have my chart of revenue by month. And this is a great example how when you're doing the KPIs, all of a sudden you realize, oh, I didn't set up the boards correctly to do the KPI, to see the KPI that I want. So now we need to go back and change that. Now what I'm going to do is I am going to roll up all of this revenue. So I'm going to click show summary in parent item and you're going to see this rolls up. So just for example, if this month, someone did set $47. So here you're going to see that we have a total of $47 and I do just want to make this dollars. Okay. So this is going to be total revenue. That's going to go here. So we have here. So what I want to do now, going back to my dashboard, now we have revenue by month. So now I just need to change the settings. So my x-axis is not going to be the start date. It's actually going to be nothing on the item level, but on the sub item level, it's going to be date, right? Because I want by month and we're sorting it by month. And my x-axis is going to be, that's going to give you total revenue. Okay, let's see if this is going to do what we want. I'm not sure. Part of the game, just testing it out. Okay, So we're going to go here. Let's just set a date of today. And then when we go to our board, so now we're going to see within September, I have $47. Now I just want to make sure that this is going to do what I want. So I'm just going to add one more item. So let's just pretend they paid for October already. And we're going to set this date for October. And now we're going to have another $47 and go back to our dashboard. And now you can see it's going to show me by month. So this, I'm going to have revenue by month. I would duplicate this to also have revenue by quarter. Now, again, just to show you that I needed to go back and change my board in order to pull in this data. This will be done with an integration that the information is going to be automatically added to this board as sub items now that I decided that that makes sense. So now I also want to go back and add a new automation here so that way I can add in that date. So here I'm going to say when sub item is created, then I'm going to set the date. And it's going to be the sub item date. So as I'm building this out, I realize more need for automation. So I'm constantly going back and adding automations. So now we have revenue by month. Now, another thing that I'm going to want to have is total revenue. So I'm actually going to duplicate this number and I'm going to change these settings to be columns one by one, and I'm going to do total revenue. So this, instead of being numbers, is revenue. Just fix my spelling. Okay, and sometimes you need to make a space, and I'm going to add a dollar sign. Oh, okay. I'm just going to do it like that. Total revenue. So this is going to be my total revenue of everyone that I've had. Okay, so this is just so I understand like how much revenue I've made over time. Now, if I also want, I can divide it between like active and not active. Obviously, this number is going to keep on changing as more people are joining. Now, I also want to understand what the average lifespan is of people that are part of my membership. So I'm going to add a numbers widget to this. And I am going to set this by my duration. Okay. And I'm pretty sure that this is set on average. So I'm going to say here, average months, right? And I'm going to rename this to average duration. So now I can see on average how many months people are part of this membership. And this is pulled from the formula column. Now I want to go and add a few more charts to talk about the source, because we want to see like where are all of our participants coming from. I'm going to choose a pie chart for this. So here I have a pie chart, and my labels that I'm going to choose is source. And I'm actually going to count items, and I can also set it as a value or a number. Now, nothing showed up in the board. I will go show you that. But first I want to do another one of these, because I also want to understand who my audience is, what their level of Monday is. Remember, that was a column that we used. So I'll add this pie chart just to change it up a little bit. And this one, instead of being source, is going to be level of Monday. Now, nothing's showing up here because I didn't add any data into my board. So now let's go to the board just to check that it's working. So we can add some people here and source. We can add some source and just a little more. Okay. Now, when I go back to my dashboard, you can see here that I see 66% of my members are from YouTube, 33 from LinkedIn, and here I have the type. So, I could say the Monday level, and I can rename this to be source. Now, again, I may want to do something like the source of my current members versus everyone, because it could be that I'm trying a new marketing channel. So I would want to see current versus everyone. If I would want to do that, I can just go back and change the group over here. So here I have both groups of active and inactive. I can just do of active, so that way I get that information. Now, what I would do with this chart is I probably would organize this a little bit better. So here we have like the revenue, like I would put all the revenue stuff together a little bit more, maybe average duration, move it. I may use other widgets to help like kind of divide it, like the text widget, you can divide it. So I may want to organize this, may make things a little bit bigger, a little bit smaller, but this is the basic dashboard that I'm going to use for this. Now, I just want to quickly jump into the automations. I'm actually not going to set up the integrations. I'm not going to be setting up the integrations on this video because the integrations are something that needs to be done with Monday and Make and Stripe or potentially the website. But I just want to tell you my thought process about what I want to do. I would like to have every single time a new member joins our club on our website that they're automatically added as an item here. And then it's going to set the start date and it will pull in the email. So it will pull in the name and the email, set the start date. Then every time someone pays, I wanted to create a sub item pulling in the revenue amount. So that way I have that. And also every time someone cancels, I want it to come here and probably set the end date. Now that I'm thinking this out loud, probably set the end date and then that automation will set to inactive. So if I can automate all those things, I really have this membership board that's pretty automated. And I have great stats understanding where my membership is holding. So that being said, I hope this was helpful if you have a membership club. And if you're interested in hearing more about our membership club, feel free to check out the details below.
Hit the like button if you enjoyed this video and remember to subscribe to receive tips and tricks on how to use Monday.com. Thanks so much for watching and I'll see you soon.